Hey y'all, it's me, Dr. Lynn Daniel, PhD, EDS. I'm the self-care evangelist, and I'm coming to you today to just talk to you all about the journey of grief and loss. The journey of grief and loss. You know, I've been a widow now for some time, and that is a word that I did not want to use to describe myself because to me it depicts a lonely, sad existence. It means that you are left alone, that you're struggling, vulnerable. I don't know, I just didn't like that term. But early on in my process, I had one of my good high school friends. He told me, you're a widow. He called me Widow Daniel. And I told him, I don't like that. Don't call me that. But in doing that, he was helping me to see the state of my condition, the reality. He's a realist, right? This friend, we go back, oh my goodness, so many years. We were friends in high school. What was I, a junior and he was a freshman or something? And we were friends because of the classes we took and that kind of thing. And plus, my high school was small, side note. But anyway, he told me, you're a widow. Face it. That word is a scary word to me because when society sees you as a widow, they see you as, to me, I feel like they see you as a castaway, as someone who is at their beck and mercy, or you need someone's approval to exist and to live a life that is fully beyond the category of being a widow. Like, I know in the Bible, it speaks a lot about widows, that widows are to be protected and cared for, widows and orphans, widows and children. And oftentimes a woman who was left without a man's covering and protection, she was vulnerable. And that means that some people in society just look for vulnerable people to prey upon. Well, thank God I don't feel like in retrospect, I feel like I was able to navigate my life as a widow early on. And I think I did okay. I made very good choices, but it was deliberate. It came with a deliberate decision to do certain things and to avoid doing certain things. And now that I am researching this, the phenomenon of widowhood, and going through that process, I'm doing some research on this. And so in the stories that I've read, there are a lot of similarities in the way that a young widow, so far the stories that I have read are widows in their 40s like I was, who speak on feeling very similar to how I felt. In the first few days, you feel like you're in a fog that lasts for a lengthy period of time where you can't make decisions, and you need people to come alongside of you to help you out. And that's when you're very vulnerable, because if the people who you bring close to you to help you make decisions, if they're not ethical people, they will take advantage of you because you're vulnerable. And so in these stories that I have been reading, in the research that I have been, looking at the data, looking at the stories, looking at the similarities, yeah, it's it's not an easy place to be, losing your spouse. Especially, and another component is when, if your spouse dies in a way that, or under circumstances where people feel like they have a right to blame you for their death, like you put too much stress on this individual, or this individual, whatever, then that's another layer of scrutiny that some widows deal with. They deal with being scrutinized over the loss and the death of their spouse, which could be unfair to certain widows, to widows who are innocent and they have nothing to do with the demise of their spouse. So yeah, I'm just making this video because right now I'm in the throes of the research on this topic. I have been, because I am reading so much, I found I'm finding videos, I'm finding all sorts of resources on this topic. And I just feel like, I wanted to have here on my channel a video that speaks to it, especially if you are an English teacher. So at the time of my late husband's death, I was teaching 7th grade in a middle school. I had been teaching in that post for some time, in that community for some time, and it was an interesting journey, to say the least. So yeah, those of you who are English teachers, or you're in a community of whatever your employment may be, how does your employer or employee colleagues, how do they engage with you around this traumatic, life-changing event? How does that unfold? I know the administrative team at my school attended my dad's. When my dad died, they attended my dad's wake. And then I recall when my late husband passed, colleagues attended either the wake or the funeral, which was comforting. It's comforting to see your colleagues, their presence at those vulnerable times. And so yeah, colleagues of widows or widowers or people who are losing close loved ones, your presence is probably welcome if you're on good terms. I don't know. If you're not on good terms, I don't know. But if you're on neutral terms or good terms, I would think that, for me, it felt reassuring. And so that's why I'm making the video, you all. I'm doing sort of like a series, if you will. The more, if you all want to hear more, just message me or leave it in the comments, and I will give you more specifics, like the various aspects of, okay, so now 30 days, it has been a 30-day window of time. What does that look like? How are you navigating life? How is a widow navigating the first 30 days? How is the widow navigating employment? How is the widow navigating life, like paying bills, like running errands, like navigating that empty space that used to be filled with engagement and interaction with your spouse? Like, how are you now navigating the silence that comes from the loss? And I just know that I was early on, after the loss, after his death, this must have been very early on, because he had a pair of jeans that he wore a lot. And I can recall holding those jeans and hugging those jeans and smelling them, and just smelling him on those jeans. And until his scent wore off and I could not smell him anymore. And so then after some time, a year, maybe a year, or maybe a little over, is when I donated his clothes, because his scent wasn't there anymore. But early on, I would smell his jeans. Those jeans pretty much like stayed on the bed, and I would just hold them up to me and like smell them. And I could smell his body scent, his cologne. I could smell, you know? And so these are things that emotional, that emotional component of grieving that I think should be discussed in safe places so that widows and widowers, I'm telling my story as a widow, how you can know if what you're doing is healthy or okay. Just research. Look at some of the academic work done on death and widowhood and see. You'll see, I have seen so many similarities of my experience with widows who were also in their 40s when their late husband passed, and how they got the news, how they discovered it, and how it impacted them, how it physically impacts you, how it psychologically impacts you. And so, yeah. All right. So if you all want to hear more on this series, just message me and let me know. And I will share more. If not, just hold tight because I am in the midst of research with the goal of writing about my story in a way that is therapeutic to me, but in a way that will be therapeutic for English language teachers who have experienced the same thing. Because I was trying to think back without looking in journals or anything. How soon did I return to work after he died? And I'm thinking I returned to work soon as a way to not be alone in the house, or, you know, not to be engaged with people is what I'm thinking. So yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. Be blessed. Thumbs up or like this video. Subscribe. Be blessed.